a morning routine that you can do pretty much every day to lose more fat. I'm not talking about what kind of workout you do. I'm not even really talking about what kind of breakfast. I'm talking about what you can do right when you roll out of bed that has scientific evidence behind it to predominantly increase GLP-1 and ultimately reduce appetite. So in the world of looking at things like Ozempic and other GLP-1 receptor agonists, people are always looking for a shortcut. Well, we can emulate a lot of these things just through our lifestyle. Now, they're not going to be as potent as using an intervention, but let's go ahead and let's talk about the first very simple thing that you can do that you probably already do when you wake up. Talking about coffee and or green tea. But what's interesting is that it shows now in literature that combining, utilizing coffee and green tea, not in one pot, that would be kind of weird, but the combination of the two, the polyphenols in green tea, the catechins, and the chlorogenic acid in coffee, even if it's decaf, have synergistic effects on appetite suppression, which we all know is probably the biggest and best way to ultimately lose fat. So this study was published in Nutrients, and they looked at green tea, they looked at coffee, but they also looked at the sort of the co-ingestion. And they found that again, the catechins in green tea, along with the chlorogenic acid in coffee, when consumed in a course of about 3 weeks, ended up having significant or triggering significant increases in what's called GLP-1. Now again, GLP-1 is secreted in the gut. It's a gut incretin. It's secreted by the gut and it breaks down pretty quick, but it has a massive effect on our appetite. But what we have also seen with coffee and green tea is that there's a postprandial decrease in insulin, which controls a lot of your appetite as well. So it's kind of interesting, but I'm gonna add a little bit more to this. When you get up in the morning and you have coffee, it's probably best to have your coffee or have your tea and then go do some kind of slow, steady state cardio. I know I wasn't gonna talk a whole lot about workouts. I wanted to talk about just lifestyle. And by the way, if you haven't already, please subscribe and drop a comment down below for the algorithm. I guess I have to get up with the times and that's what YouTube wants. So just, even if it's just a word, just drop a comment for the algo. It does help a ton, believe it or not. Okay, so what we're seeing now is that when you have some coffee, when you have some caffeine, or when you have some green tea, it's gonna mobilize more fat. So if you have that and you don't add any cream or anything first, you treat it like a supplement and you go do a little cardio, you go for a little walk, trust me when I say it is much more powerful. I personally find that if I do cardio when I do not have some caffeine, I don't feel like I burn as much fat. But here's the second thing. Since we're talking about rotating up green tea and coffee. So you alternate, maybe have some green tea, then do some cardio, then after your cardio, have a cup of coffee or even decaf because it's the antioxidants we're looking for. What you can do is actually add MCT oil to your coffee. What the heck? Isn't that like so 2016? Well, now there's evidence that suggests that when you consume MCT oil, but not butter, don't put butter in your coffee anymore. I think that's kind of dead. Putting MCT oil in your coffee actually makes it so that the MCT absorbs so fast that even if you're not on a low carb diet, but you're on an empty stomach, it will produce ketones that have sort of a survival override to curb your appetite. Really, really wild. But now I want to get into some parts that are going to really throw people a little bit for a loop because they're going to think I'm getting weird. But I'm going to tell you, Dr. Andrew Huberman has probably been right most of the time. And now we have evidence to really strongly support this. 2 really cool studies. The first study was published in Obesity Facts. So what they did is they, for 3 weeks, had subjects have morning light exposure or not, just morning sunlight exposure. The group that had the sunlight exposure lost more body fat percentage and had a massive reduction in their appetite. But now let's talk about the second study. The second study was published in the International Journal of Endocrinology. They exposed people to red light, green light, blue light, and dim light. Okay, or placebo. What they found is that when they were exposed to light in the morning, they all had an increase in leptin, which would improve your appetite, or decrease your appetite rather. But only the red light and the green light, which is some of the light that we would get from the sun, actually decreased ghrelin, the hunger hormone. This is huge. Why? Because the mitochondria respond to fuel, light, and magnetism. Like we know that about the mitochondria. EMF, all these things affect. I sound crazy, but this is real. So 5 years from now, if you're calling me crazy, you're gonna look back and be like, oh, well, that's just where it was. The literature is here, and Dr. Andrew Huberman, no matter what you have to say about him, he's talked about this stuff, and he's had experts on it, but now we're seeing the evidence that it actually relates with body composition changes too. If you can't get sun in the morning, do your best to use like a red light therapy light, Or there's a light from Mitolux. I linked down to them down below. They're a sponsor on this channel. That is a vitamin D sun lamp, which people have been using vitamin D sun lamps in like all kinds of situations for decades. But this is like the first one that I've seen that's really accessible and reasonably priced. It's a 10% off discount link. It uses UVB light, so you're actually gonna get vitamin D from it. It's a better than sunlight type lamp. So it's a 10 times like concentrated. So you're getting 10 times the efficiency you would of the sun. I'm not saying replace the sun. By all means, get outside. Do the cardio, have the coffee, do the cardio outside. We've seen a lot of clinical evidence that vitamin D lamps work. Okay, but with this, it also has red spectrum, near infrared spectrum, and of course the UVA. Now they have it in a couple sizes now. They have a smaller size, they also have a big max version as well. So really cool stuff. So that link down below is for 10% off. What I would do is put that sucker on like a treadmill. If you can't get out in the morning and it's cold or something like that, highly, highly, highly effective. And it's a way to get that morning light that we're seeing in the evidence has an impact on your appetite later in the day. The next thing that I would do is after your workout, you want to do two things. We have seen now in the study published in Advances in Nutrition that whey protein specifically has a very short-term effect on appetite suppression because it absorbs so fast. So if you have a situation where like you need to curb your appetite fast, so right after a workout, it's easy to overdo it. It really is in the morning. It's easy to overdo your food because you have a lot of signals that are telling you to eat, and they can sometimes override what you actually need. So I have found a simple whey protein shake with water does the trick. Whey protein isolate, and we're seeing now, because of the rapid absorption, massive quick increases in PYY and GLP-1 that goes away after about an hour. So you'll get hungry after about an hour. But what you do is you have that whey protein shake, and then an hour later, you have casein protein. Now, by that I mean like a yogurt, or I mean a cottage cheese or something like that, or just have some ground beef or something. But a casein protein is unique because now we're seeing it forms a gel-like substance that actually delays gastric emptying, causes the contents of your stomach to spend more time in the lower part of the small intestine, subsequently causing an increase in GLP-1 release. So you're getting that Ozempic GLP-1 effect that's really, really powerful. Now, what I would typically do is if I'm trying to control my appetite for the rest of the day, is along with that higher protein, higher milk casein type meal, I add 1 to 2 tablespoons of psyllium. I don't always do this. People have what they have to say about psyllium. I get straight psyllium because now we've seen the evidence with psyllium. There was a study published in BMC Endocrine Disorders, and I'm just gonna read you an excerpt from it. They said this: psyllium has similar effects as intestinal alpha-glucosidase inhibitors, leading to increased levels of GLP-1. Okay, so essentially what's happening is you're delaying the contents from being emptied once again, particularly carbohydrates, and it's making it so you're having a subsequent release in GLP-1. You're asking me how to lose fat in the morning. What's the best fat burning routine in the morning? The best fat burning routine is setting yourself up to not eat as much throughout the day. And we have to understand the neuropsychology, we have to understand the gut incretins, we have to understand how all this plays in, including the light, including the coffee, the polyphenols, the fiber, and the protein. Now, another one that I've talked about before, if you want to add some spice into food, or get this is gonna sound crazy, but spice into green tea, you could have a potent effect. There was a study published in Clinical Nutrition that actually combined green tea with capsaicin, green tea extract, so green tea with some chili pepper in it. What? Now we're getting weird. You're gonna look like a weirdo, but this is something you do in the comfort of your own home. Make your green tea spicy. What they're finding is that the EGCG, the catechins in the green tea, combined with the capsaicin that has an impact on what's called TRPV receptors, so basically the vagus response, to ultimately trigger the brain to produce more NPY, PYY, and a downstream effect of more appetite suppression. It's profound. It's not anything to sneeze at. Like, this is real human data that we're seeing. Combining spicy with some certain polyphenols and catechins can be powerful. So just to recap all this, like a simple morning routine. Again, this is not everything you do, exactly what you should eat, your protein, this and that, but I'm gonna break it down for you real quick. You roll out of bed, don't worry about having coffee first thing. You can have it, that's not a problem anymore. We used to say wait 90 minutes. No, have your black coffee or have your green tea. No cream or nothing. Go for a walk outside. Get the sun on your face, get the sun in your eyes. The sun in your eyes will make a difference when it comes down to all kinds of alertness. The sun in your skin can actually make a difference metabolically. Okay, so get that sun, or use a Mitolux like vitamin D type lamp. Use that kind of thing. Again, that link is down below. When you come back, switch it up to maybe some decaf coffee or more green tea with a little bit of spice added into it. And if you're gonna work out, or if the cardio was your workout, then you're going to have that quick whey protein shake in water You could do it in milk, but realistically, make it simple. Just curb the appetite, okay? Do that after your workout, after your cardio. Then an hour later, have a richer meal, okay? That's when you're gonna add the things like maybe some cottage cheese or some Greek yogurt. That's gonna have the casein effect, okay? Add a tablespoon of psyllium. It's important that you don't add the psyllium right with the whey protein because that's gonna slow the digestion of the whey protein. You want the psyllium with your slower digesting meal. And this is gonna make it so your appetite is curbed throughout the day. I have lots of other little tips and tricks, and I've talked about some of these overlapping in another video, but this is more a morning routine type thing to have an Ozempic-like effect and lose some fat. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.